Hi guys, my name is Ankur. I'm the co-founder of CVL, and we are into this business from the last 3 years. We help the students who apply for higher studies in the abroad, and we have found that a lot of students have a problem statement in terms of creating their SOPs and the CV. So we have a platform CV out where you can build your resume. Okay, and in this seminar we will divide this session into two parts. The first part would be of 30 to 45 minutes, in which we will discuss on how to create the resume, and in the last 15 minutes we will discuss on the queries that you have. Just give me a kickstart that you guys are also here can hear me. Okay, so let's start with the first slide that we have is I have been going in multiple events, like in QS, in Access MBA, and there we set up CV clinics. Okay, and a lot of students come to me and ask a very basic question. The first basic question they asked to me was that what was the difference in the resume that I create for a job and the resume that I create for my higher studies. So the first basic difference that I see is the content into it. Everything is same, but the content and the pitch is different. That's why we call it as academic CV. So when you're applying for an higher studies, we would be calling a term called academic CV, which means that we would be focusing on your academic career rather than professional ones. The first importance is given to the academic career, and the second is to the professional ones. Fine. If you guys have any questions, you just keep on populating those questions to me. If I'm able to frame those questions and answers in the mid of the presentation, I'll do that as well. Okay. So the difference is in the academic CV, we focus on academics. So when I say academics, what all achievement that you had in your college, what all education that you have done during your college period, what extracurricular activities you did in your college period, what awards you got, what are internships you did in your during your academics. So that's the first and major difference between when a CV that you would be creating for higher studies and a CV that you would be creating for the job. Now I'll get a bit more detail into the academic CV. In the academic CV, where we first focus on, the first focus is on the courses. So when I say courses, it means the education, the 4-year education that you have taken. By courses, I mean any online course that you have done. By courses, I mean any certifications if you have done. All these three things comes under this courses section, right? And these are very, very critical and highly required in the academic CV. The second part that comes is the academic awards. Let's say you guys are into a job also, okay, and you would be getting certain awards over there also. But the admission committee is also interested in the awards that you have won during your academic career. So they want to see at an overall level that what awards or what achievement you made during your academics. So if you don't have, right, think over it, right? Maybe that instead of academic award, you add certain volunteering experience internships. So those are the second two parts to it. When I say volunteering experience, it actually brings a key point in your resume, and a lot of importance, at least outside India, has been given to this particular section, that what you have done for the society. And it's very, so people actually don't put this volunteering experience, what I have seen, in their resumes, and it's the most important section. Maybe that you can have this section, instead of naming it as volunteering experience, you name it as a leadership and volunteering experience. That can also be one of the name, which actually represents that what all leadership skills you have, what all things you have done apart from your academics for your society. The last section, which is the intern part. This section is very, very important for those people who would like to change their career subject. Let's say I did my BTech in computer science. Okay. Now I'm interested into MBA. Now, now this is the whole change from one subject to the another one. So you have to build a trust in the academic, in the admission committee, that there is certain interest which I have in the MBA. And how you build that interest? You build that interest by doing certain internship in that subject. So maybe you do certain internship as a academics in the academics in social media marketing. You do certain you do certain internship into social media marketing, digital marketing. Maybe you work with certain startups, right? And you point out that what all things you learned during those internships. So it's very, very critical. Okay, so please think over it. And the last point which I have put it over a slide is put only most relevant your field. So you guys must be having that question. My CV is 2 page, 3 page, 4 page, and every university is asking for have a single page. The first key step to make your resume to 1 page is that please think that what all is the relevant content for the course that I'm applying for. Sometimes it's not necessary that you add your that you won certain award as a uh, in running competition you get a first position. Maybe it's not required. You just eliminate that part. So please, okay, so you have to think through that what is relevant for me to applying for this particular course. I'll move to the next one. Okay, this was the second most important question that students asked to me. What is the length? So if you're applying for an MBA, the length of the CV will be 1 page. Apart from other courses, apart from MBA, it can be of any limit. The reason being is if you look at the third section, which talks about what all sections you can have, right? So contact information would be a section which would be common in both courses. Summary statement, which can be common, but research interest cannot be a section in an MBA. So we will discuss what is the difference between what should be the resume structure for MBA and other courses in the next slide. Meanwhile, I'll just explain you the format. When I say consistency in this in section structure, think through. You have a newspaper, right? A newspaper is lying somewhere around, a 2 meter or 3 meter away from you. Okay. Still, you are able to read the headings, and by reading those headings, you go towards the newspaper, and you read a paragraph of it. So in the same manner, your resume has to be very neat. First point, it should have a very good white spaces, right? The font size should be 10 to 12. It should be readable. The font size should not be too small that it gives a pain to the person to read your resume. And the last point, please put in PDF format. The reason being that why we are saying is a lot of students send their resume in Word format. Now, let's say currently I'm using Mac, okay, but uh, but the admission committee member is using Windows, right? So maybe the difference is that I have put it in dot pages. My file format is this, and he is using Microsoft Office. So your resume will not get open. Or maybe we both are using Windows, right? But you created that whole file into 2007 and he was using 2018. So there would be a difference in the in the version of the Microsoft Word, and the whole format will go for a toss. So please put in PDF format, should be neat, clean, readable, have a good font size, and should look consistent, have a similar structure. So we will discuss on this part in very, very detail. The next is, which I was talking about, that what is the difference, what should be the order and what should be the structure of the resume. So in MBA and masters and PhD, so the sections which I've highlighted in green, right, these are the key sections which are extra, right, which is research interest, which is research experience, training experience, teaching experience, administrative experience. Now, master's and PhD resume can be more than one page. Even if logically, it cannot be in one page, because you have to put it everything. Even you have to put down what thesis you have done in your PhD. You have to showcase what all work you have done in research, right? What any particular university, any particular professional organization you have been working on, have have you given any presentation or a conference, right, in certain good event, right? So master and PhD resume, right, can easily be more than one page, right, can extend to 3 pages also, can extend to 4 pages also. There is no limit. But for an MBA resume, please keep it one page. It's a restriction, and if you're not able to keep it in one page, which means that you are not able to represent yourself in a proper manner. So it's very important, right? I'll I'll just I'll show you certain. I just got a question that I worked for 3 years in a CA firm as a part of CA course requirements. So I will give a equal size to my experience as well as academics. So this part we will answer it. Kishan, just give me few more minutes. Okay. Now the so that's the difference. And this should be the order. If you guys want to take a screenshot of it, please take it. Maybe if you want this slide, I'll give you my email ID. Take this slide. This is a very important slide, right? And there is a lot of information on the internet which actually confuses everyone, that what all sections we should put, what should be the format, and so on, right? So let's move to the next slide. Okay, I've explained a bit more in this. What is the difference between MBA resume, right? First, which we already discussed, the length of the resume should be one. Okay. Now, when you're going for an MBA, I believe most of us who would be attending this webinar, and in India, most of the people are going for an MBA apart from other courses. Uh, in an MBA, right? I told you that academic CV is more of you focus on your academics, you more focus on your education, right? But for an MBA, and if you have a good work experience, right? Everyone want to judge you on the basis of the work that you have done and what accomplishments you have made. So you have to very point it out that I worked in this particular company, this was my role, and this is something that I've achieved for the company. So when I say achievement, there are three parameters how you define the achievement. Either you increase the efficiency of the company, efficiency of the internal processes. Second is that you were able to bring certain revenue to the company. And the third is that you were able to cut down the cost. Okay. And for when you're applying for an MBA, it's not necessary that you add your high school. Even for the master, you don't need to add your high school percentage if it's not that good. Even it's 80%, that's fine. You don't have to put it, because we have a limited space on my resume, and I want to put it all very strong points in my resume, because I've seen there are a lot of students who apply. They are from a very good. They're working with a very good companies like Bain, KPMG, right? And the names of these companies adds a lot of value in their resume. So if you have to stand out apart from the crowd, people who don't have this much of big names of the companies and a good role, I request you to go for a lot of internships, right? Make your profile very strong. Okay. Okay. Next is I want to discuss more on the experience part, that how to write your experience. Okay. So first is the avoid certain common mistakes. So what common mistakes we see is that students have written their experience in paragraphs. Now, if the experience is written in the paragraph, it would look so bulky to me that I will say that I actually don't want to read it out, and I might miss as a reader, I might miss certain good points. Okay, so it's very necessary. Please put your experience into bullet points. Okay, next is put your experience into a reverse chronological order. So the recent one should be on the top, then the past one, then the past to past. Okay. Now, when you say an experience, right? You say that, Anko, I have a one-page length, right? What all things I should include? What are the right questions that I should ask myself, right, before writing a resume? So these are the top 5 questions, right, which I have made. The first question is, what have been the most important responsibilities I have made? What work I actually did, right? What was, so I might be having 10 works, but which work was the most important one, which was impacting my own growth, which was impacting the company's growth. Okay. Which clients I have worked? Maybe that you have worked with McKinsey as one of the client. Maybe that you work with certain top insurance companies. So if you point out those names as well, it adds a value. What are my top 5 professional skills? So when you say that, let's say you are applying for an MBA and MBA, let's say finance, okay, and so you just put down certain skills which relates to it. So maybe that you put down that you're very good in financial statements. Maybe you put down certain keywords like accounting. So he would actually know that this person has a fair good knowledge on, on the particular course that is applying for. It's not a blank mind that you just keep on applying. Because I interacted with few students, I asked that for which course you are going for. So they said, okay, I'm going for this particular course. I said, why? So they said, okay, so I just wanted to study abroad, right? So you have to prove you actually. So SOP and resume is that's why it's too important, right? That you have to prove that why this particular course, why this particular university that you're applying for. And the last one is the accomplishments. When I say accomplishment, it means the same 3 things: how you improve the internal process efficiency, how you cut down the cost, or how you added a revenue. Okay. Now, the how to write the accomplishments is the very, very critical part. And this is where a lot of people lose out. Okay. Because I have to write only 1-2 lines about my role, but I have to write maximum lines in my resume about my accomplishments. So I'll show you 3 steps that how you do it. The first step is a result. You say, helped generating the revenue of $3 million. So this was the result. Okay. What was the challenge when you joined the company? The challenge was low revenue. So the result and the challenge is totally opposite. So you start with the result saying that I worked with Bain for 2 years and I was able to increase the revenue of the company by $3 million. Okay. So when I say that, how you did it? So there would be an action to it. So the action or the intellectual property that you brought, right, was you repaired damaged client relationship. So are you able to link it? So there is a result, there is a challenge, and there is an action in between. So to get a result, you took certain action, which was you were able to repair, you were able to build a good relationship with the clients. Okay. Now I'll show you our platform where I've made a small resume for people who would be applying for an MBA. It's a free platform. You guys can also create this. Okay. So here, if you can see in the experience section, I put it the designation and I put it the department as well in which I was working, the company and the state. Now in this part, because you're applying for an abroad, what you should do is that you should go over here and you should add India as well, or maybe not like this. Maybe you can do something like this, which which actually will tell the person that you did this particular job in India, because he might not be knowing New Delhi is that famous. Okay. Now, in this, if you see, each and every sentence talks about the accomplishments. Created and organized media services group that generates 80% worth of agency media revenues for advertising and communication budget of $5 million. Next accomplishment, led annual negotiations with media partners. Developed and supervised implementation of media and communication strategies. re-engineered advertising business. So these are the accomplishments just only on those three factors: improvement of internal processes, cost reduction, or increase in the revenue. Okay. Now I have added three experiences over here, right? Now the another critical part. Um, there are a lot of students who came to me with the education section and with a problem statement that my MBA resume is just, I'm not able to put it in one page. So what mistake they do is they have a section called leader position of responsibilities. That is one of the sections which they have usually, and they have put a lot of irrelevant content in their resume, right? So there is a way to do it. Instead of that, what you guys can do in the education section itself, you put the right content. How? You put a subsection called relevant courseworks and you put advanced corporate finance, modern financial analysis and valuation techniques. You put your accomplishments as you in the honors dean scholarship recipient. In leadership position, you can put president, Jason Mary Accounting Taxation Society, right? So if you have a lot of you had certain membership of certain societies, so you can add in this section. So let me just show you how to add this. Maybe I go to education section, go here, and maybe let's say there's another society, maybe it's a debate society. So you click on save, and it's added right over here. Okay. Another small mistake which people do is that they mention the month and months also in the education. You don't need to add the months. Okay. Month should only be added in the experience section. Now the last, okay, I'll move to the slides now before I explain a bit more. So these sections, okay. So for an MBA, right? If someone asks me that, Anko, I want one page, so I'll suggest only to keep these six sections, not more than that. Okay. Okay. Now I want to explain a bit more on the additional details part because it's pretty important. In the additional details section, what I've done is I've created a subsection called languages. I put it fluent in Spanish. So please, if you already have if you don't know any other language apart from your hometown language, which is Hindi and English, right? Please don't put languages section until and unless you have Spanish, French, German, so and so on, right? Then you can add your computer skills that you have. You add certain membership. So let's say you are associated with certain professional organization, right? You please do add over here. If you have any certification, a professional certification. So I'll say maybe that you have a PMP certification. So you can put right over here. Okay, and your interest area, scuba diving, painting, and see the interest and the hobbies are also very important when you're applying for a university. Why? Let's say you're applying for a Michigan University, and Michigan University is very famous for soccer and a few more sports, right? And if you guys have that talent and you like that sport, you play a lot, please add those achievements in your resume. Why? There is a term which we call in the industry is the cultural fit, which means that you're compatible with the culture of that university, and maybe that you help them in the sports. Okay, so they're trying to make certain linkage, certain similarities between your culture and their culture, which will give you a point. Okay, so the if you want to have one page resume, I suggest you guys to only have these six sections. Skill section is an optional section. If you want to put it, please put it, or you can remove it. It's not compulsory. Another part which is, are there any differences between a countries? So let's say if I'm applying for an MBA in US and if I'm applying for an MBA in UK, what is there a difference in the resume? Yes, there would be small differences, as you can see on the screen, like the words that we are using. Okay, in it's a very small differences that we see is that in US, right, I use IZE at the end of certain words, right? Like symbolize, right? But in UK, we use ISE, okay? If you have done certain internship, right? And you have used the word internship, that internship doesn't mean that internship actually means it could be a trainee, right, in UK. And there is a lot of difference between a trainee and an intern. A trainee is someone who's learning at a very nascent stage, and internship is someone who has a good amount of knowledge and is doing an intern over there, right? So there is a huge difference between both of them. So that's a small differences that we can see as a country specific, right? And apart to that, like in India, we usually give two type of grades to the people. Like there are a lot of universities who give CGPA like 9.0, 8.0. There are certain who give 80%, 60%. In UK, right, there can be some another format in the grades. So if you put those your formats in your resume, put in the format which university accepts. So if they look for usually they take care of a CGPA, so you convert your percentage into CGPA. So if it's 80%, you can put 8.0 CGPA. That's the whole difference in the in the country specific part. Okay. Uh, Apart to that, I think that's the whole gist, right, of the academic CVs. And if you guys have your own CV review, right, please you can send across to your CV review on this email ID. Okay. I'll personally go through it. I'll give my feedback that what all improvements we can do in the CV. I think we are done with the half an hour session of this.